What's going on, guys? Jabba Swifty here, aka Jabba. Happy New Year's. Bronchitis did not defeat me. You can still hear it in my voice a little bit. But anyway, full disclosure, this is not a Colossus build. This is not a build to squeeze out every last metric of damage. I believe modding is a big portion of content that I myself personally have missed out on, really experimenting with different builds because, like many of you, I wanted to do big boy damage.
That's a lot of damage!
But this is not that kind of build. So the inspiration for this build comes from the controller class in DC Universe Online. Now I know we're throwing it way back with this one, no Megan Thee Stallion, but the controller class was not only in charge of keeping the power / mana up of the party, but they were in charge of debuffing, taking down resistances, slowing the enemies, stunning the enemies, overall giving the party room to breathe and allowing the DPS characters to do what they love most.
Stop your games.
And that's when it dawned on me, Valby would be perfect for this role. So let's get into the build. All right, guys, so I went ahead and took care of the old reliables, nimble fingers, MP conversion for skill cooldown. I think these go on everybody's build at this point in time. They're pretty much like the foundation of which builds are built upon. But prior to the recent patch, I used to lean more dimension for Valby, but with this new playstyle that I've been having a lot of fun, everything is centered around her laundry bomb. So fusion is king for this build. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and head over to Xantic. We're going to throw on focus on fusion, fusion amplification. Head over to Malachite. I never can say that word, Malachite, whatever. And we're going to throw on focus on non-attribute amplification. This is going to give us more skill cooldown, more skill power. Now, I did say that this build is not meant to squeeze out all this damage, but the build still slaps. Okay, so with Laundry Bomb having a base skill power level of 75.7%, I typically, my rule is if it's sub 100, go skill power modifier. Some people would argue for sure, like, you can still go skill power modifier well into 200, but, you know, that's everybody's preference. But for me, if the base skill power is lower than 77, lower than 100%, my bad, then you're going to go ahead and go with skill power modifier. So with that, we're going to throw on iron defense and avoid spear and shield. All right. So now I like to have a little bit of survivability with Valby. I mean, with all my descendants, I like to put on some survivability. So with this one here, I go with Battle of Stamina. This is going to give us some max HP, but it also gives us a skill duration. Now, the reason why I'm going with Battle of Stamina to get that skill duration is because this playstyle calls for as much range as you possibly can get. So with that, we're going to go with Expansion, and we're going to go with Amplification Control. All right, so with Amplification Control and Skill Expansion, this is going to allow you to shoot off a laundry bomb, plop from one location to the next, and just suck up everything around you. Pause. And if you're wondering why we're using amplification for fusion and why we're using non-attribute amplification, it's specifically because Valby's base skill critical hit rate is 5%. It's atrocious. We don't look at it. Now, if you did want to get more damage out of this build and you didn't mind maneuvering more to spread the water out and get that laundry effect so that way they do get towed, you can replace, I would say, amplification control and throw on decimator, and that'll give you a nice little bump in damage too. Now, before we get into reactors and external components, guys, I want you to understand that this build and playstyle comes from a place of hope. In the recent live stream the devs had, they talked about how after Season 2, there's going to be a focus on endgame content and harder content. Now, this made me excited because outside of the new Colossus we get for the new season, there's not really any difficult content in the First Descendant. And I think this lack of challenging content is the reason why we had the bunny problem, and then we upgraded to the Freyna problem, and now we're upgrading to the Viessa problem. And we have this lack of diversified builds, this lack of diversified use of Descendants. I mean, we have an entire support cast that's criminally underutilized. You know, and me coming from the division, I'm just surprised we haven't just gotten a new difficulty level. Put some baller rewards in the new difficulty level. That way it gives newer players something to work for and allows the veteran players to really challenge ourselves and try to get those good rewards. And, you know, when you click on that new difficulty level, have a pop-up that says, you know, You will not one-shot anything in here. Make sure you are min-max. If you're not, turn back. All right, I may have been talking out of my ass right at the end there, but you guys get the point. I would like for support playstyles and support descendants to really start to have a place in the First Descendant, because it kind of feels like the developers did like a pseudo holy trinity and they were on the fence if they wanted to go for it or not. And now we just have like this amalgamation of roles. But anyway, to the external components. Now, one of the things you probably noticed is I'm not using an extension mod. I have some skill duration coming from my Battle of Stamina. Then I'm also using the Annihilation set, which is giving me 5.7% skill duration. And then I'm using the Hunter set from the Void Vessel to give me 4% skill cooldown. On my sensor, I have max MP and MP recovery in combat. And then on my memory, I have MP recovery modifier. I've been trying to get better rolls on my auxiliary power and on my processor, but haven't been too lucky. Now, this brings my skill cooldown to 6.5 seconds. Now, I could take this lower, but I did not use skill cooldown on my reactor. I have a fusion skill power boost ratio and non-attribute skill power boost ratio. I haven't maxed out this reactor yet because I only have a standard roll for that non-attribute skill power boost ratio. But these substats for the way this playstyle is and the way that this build is, you're going to be smacking things left and right alongside of assisting your team and giving them some breathing room and towing these enemies off the battlefield.
The warning system broken? It's gone off again. Nope. Just another tough enemy to deal with. Descendant, do your thing.